2019, our last meeting of 2019.
Yep.
I hope.
Right.
My last meeting, anyway. Okay, call to order, roll call.
Member Callahan?
Here.
Member Dahlman?
Here.
Chair Hunter?
Here.
Member Dittmer?
Here.
Member Kerouac?
Here.
And members Deegan and Waymeyer are absent.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience that's got anything that is not on the agenda that they'd like to speak to sometime tonight? No, good. Okay, where's the minutes? Minutes of October? We didn't have a meeting in November, did we?
Correct, we did not.
Any comments on the October minutes? Pro, con, corrections?
And item 6 on page 3, third paragraph, it says, at the end of that first line, it says, wonders if the entire building should be redone. It's not the building, it's the enclosure.
Oh, right, I'll change that, yep.
Oh, building too. Getting no,
Good catch.
Otherwise, I move the minutes be approved.
anybody else? Any other comments?
I second.
Okay,
No other comments.
all in favor of the minutes of October 1st, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, moving right along. We'll be out of here in 10 minutes. Sign permit for Bonk Restaurant. John, you wanna?
So we're looking to put a small vinyl sign that's attached to the window of the left-hand side of the two windows that exist in the bike shop right now. The left-hand side of the bonk space would be for the soup and sandwich shop. The right-hand side of the space would still exist for the bicycles, so our sign would go kind of on our side of the seating. The sign will be white in lettering, fairly thin lettering with a small design. We've got a small kind of bicycle trail that runs through with our logo. It'll say soup and sandwich on it. The idea is that it'll cover some of the window, but it'll be light and easy to see through, so the customers can still see inside of the space. It won't just, and there's no way that it'll cover up most of the window in a solid fashion. That's really the idea.
Okay.
I just want to mention to the board that there's at least two different possible ways to calculate the sign area, and the sign code doesn't prescribe which one to choose. So it's up to the ABR, but it's also up to you how much consideration you or even discussion you want to have about the actual numbers, because either way, it's a sign code exemption, so it'd be a recommendation to the village board either way. Regardless
And
of how
obviously,
it's
we can
calculated.
make any of the wording smaller if we need to. That's not an issue for us.
So is the hub and cycle gonna stay on both sides of the door up there in the?
Yes, it will.
That's okay, that's part of the building now.
Yeah, the aesthetic of the building is really important for us. Obviously, I like our landlord, and we don't want to mess with any of that. And there's no reason to really change the things above it, so we were planning on leaving that alone. It matches the rest of the building and most of the block.
Right. Where'd that go?
I thought that the bonk should be made a little bit
A
smaller.
little bit smaller, okay. We're thinking in the range of somewhere like 10 to 15% smaller, or like half the size?
10 to 15%,
Okay. we can
just
do
so it seems to dominate the window, in my opinion.
that. Got it. Okay, we can make it smaller.
According to my calculations, if you make it 15%, it complies.
It would be, if we shrunk it by 15%, it would be, yeah, I understand.
Are you putting the vinyl letters on the inside or the outside?
The outside.
If you put them on the inside, they'll last a lot longer.
Okay, we can do that. Actually, we can put them on either side. It doesn't really matter to us which side we put them on.
Yeah,
Would you prefer them on the inside?
just for longevity.
Got it. Okay,
They'll deteriorate eventually anyway, but it'll take twice as many years.
right.
I'm assuming the restaurant's going to be there for a long time.
I hope so. I hope so, but in my business, you never know. You can build a great restaurant, and it still doesn't work, so. But our goal is that, yeah, it's around for a long time.
Tim?
Yeah, I thought that, based upon what it was on the picture here, it looked a little bit big for it, for the space. But, other than that, I think it looks good.
Okay, we'll shrink it down a little bit. Just the bonk word, I'm assuming, right? Or the
And
whole
maybe
thing in
like
general?
the lines that kind of designate a path.
Okay.
It looks like it's almost off the window, but I'm sure that's just.
Yeah, the idea was to kind of go from edge to edge
Okay.
with the lines. If we made the words all 15% smaller, could we leave the kind of path the way that it goes from one side to the other side?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I think so.
Are you gonna have any other signage for hours of operation or anything? Or how are you doing that with the other, like, are you having separate hours than the bike shop? How is all
No, we
that
would,
playing out?
the bike shop will already be open when we start to do the sandwiches, so we weren't planning on having
You
separate
don't have a
hours.
separate, yes, okay,
We weren't planning on that right now, no.
okay.
We would just open as the bike shop was already open during the day,
Mm-hmm.
and then we would stay open and we would just close later.
I didn't mind the size, I thought it was a fun play on the space, but if you're amenable to the 10% or 15, I'm fine with that too, of course. And I like the idea of the, kind of the road coming across, I think it kind of makes sense with.
We're gonna paint bike trails on the floor of the whole space
Yeah,
also.
that'd be,
So we're gonna take at least as many as we can of the bike trails in Lake County and kind of paint them along it and
Cool.
Anybody else? So what is it reduced down to
would you like it 10 or 15% smaller?
versus 15%? 15% gets you right there?
15% gets you right there.
Okay.
What does that mean? 9 inches is not that big.
yeah, 'cause-
Um,
yeah, so that's gonna be about 7 inches tall by 15. that's
Yeah, I'll just reduce the
4.
whole thing by 15%. It's an easy change.
10% would be
8 by 34.
You guys can pick. Doesn't matter to me. That's not gonna make the restaurant work or not work,
Yeah.
so whatever you want.
it's kind of fun, though.
Yeah, that's why I'd like the,
Matt?
I'd like the big graphics. I think it goes with the name, it goes with the type font, I think it does want to be subtle. It's a big, fun font.
I don't do a lot of things that are subtle, so
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah, I like, and you have bikes behind it, it's not competing against the bikes, but it has to have some mass to it, because it doesn't have, there's no thickness to the sign. It's a very light
It's
approach
transparent,
to it. So
yeah.
that's, I actually like the scale. I think it works. It does what it's supposed to do without overwhelming. I think it's
I don't mind the size of the signs, I don't like the precedent of,
of
That's
overstepping the
always the
percentage,
rub,
yeah.
right.
we're about 5 years too late for that.
When you consider the percentage of a sign in general, do you consider whether it's transparent or it has a solid backing to it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is a hard one to calculate.
Right.
Because it's not.
Because the square inches of the actual
Right.
lettering is not that
To
much.
calculate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
What do we do? I mean, how do you do this? You come up with the square around the whole graphic?
I took the square around the whole graphic.
Yeah.
Well-
I didn't get extra points for the transparency inside.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, when we say the square around the whole graphic, we mean doing the rectangle, even
Oh,
including
I
the
see what you're saying.
path.
I did not do
Which
that.
would, right,
Yeah.
yeah, which, that would be a much larger number. Usually, we don't have a sign like this that has
Right.
an element that comes so
No,
far
I
away
would
from the
ignore
text.
the element for a minute.
Yeah.
Right, and just do a rectangle around the text.
So where do we get,
Basically.
is that what you did?
Yeah, the rectangle around both of the text is what
Um,
gets us to our 17.5%.
So he did the text lines individually, which comes out to 17.5%. So if you did the
Including
text
the
all in
existing
one
stuff on top.
rectangle. So what Bob is asking is if we did the text all in one rectangle, exactly where would we be at? So we'd be slightly higher than the 17.5%.
Oh, you're probably at 20.
But you have
22,
a lot of
23%.
blank space when you do it that way.
Right, exactly.
And,
Half of the bottom is.
yeah. And I'm sorry, you also include the hub and cycle? Is that part
Yeah.
of this whole calculation?
Yeah, the percentage that's listed there now includes the existing hub and cycle.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't have any problem with the way you calculated it, with each section of it being independent, rather than one big rectangle.
No, I don't think it should be one big one. There's too much empty space.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
How about 10%? How about 5%? What is it? I wouldn't go 15.
No.
I actually like it the way it is.
I do too,
I'll do whatever you guys decide.
yeah,
But you have to make the decision, I can't.
yeah.
I'd be fine leaving it the way it is too. I'm not gonna fight over it.
What does that mean?
I would reduce it by the 15%, because I don't think it makes any difference. Instead of 9.5 inches, what would it be? It would be an 8-inch letter instead of 9.5.
Roughly,
It
yeah.
should be a 7-inch
I
letter.
think it's insignificant to the business.
It definitely will not make us successful or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of that's gonna make a difference.
So an 8-inch letter would do it? Why don't we just say instead of percentage, an 8-inch letter?
Well, the soup and sandwich, I think, would have to go 15% smaller also,
Yeah.
right, to
Yeah.
comply.
Yeah.
Well, just to be in scale with everything.
Right,
If you wanna
right, yeah.
keep the relationship the same.
Right,
A 4
right.
3/4 would probably be 3 3/4. So instead of
Right.
that, it'd be that.
Mhm.
Everybody agree or disagree with that? I know you'd like to leave it the way it is.
Yeah,
So do
so-
I, but it does.
It's fine,
It does
yeah.
stretch the boundary down. up
I,
and down
I
the street,
appreciate that, I appreciate that,
Which comes back to bite us as we,
I-
well, had to happen.
I know.
Sheree?
I think the 10% reduction would be fine. That gets it from 9.5 to 8.5 inches tall on the bonk.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, somebody make a motion. You okay with that?
Yes. I'm glad this is only a window sign.
I move to recommend the sign with the following amendment, that it is reduced by 10% from what has been submitted to us tonight. All lettering, and that the graphic road stays from edge to edge.
I
Second?
second.
Okay, roll call?
Member Callahan?
Aye.
Member Dahlman?
Aye.
Member Dittmer?
Aye.
Member Kerouac?
Aye.
And Chair Hunter?
Aye.
Okay, all aye. Motion passes. I'll put that on the agenda for Monday night.
Sounds good. Do you need anything further from me for drawings and stuff for Monday night,
Nope.
showing the
no,
reduction?
No. Oh, well, yeah, that'd be great, actually, if you could send a revised drawing with the reduction.
Sure thing.
That'd be great. I'll
You got
send
it.
out. Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you,
good luck.
John. Where's my agenda?
So, well, we could ask Bob if anyone's here for number 5. If
I
not, we
did.
could take things out of order and go to number 6, because I think they're here for number 6.
Yeah, okay, we'll do number 6. That
Okay.
would be, where's my paper? What's number 6? It's the
It
brick.
is the brick pavers in the
Right,
right-of-way
okay.
near this building.
Who's gonna speak to that? Anybody?
Everybody.
Chime in.
Do I need to say my name and all that good stuff? Is that how we do it?
Sure, go
Okay,
Go ahead,
Sure.
Shelley.
I'm Joy Marquis. I live at 117 West Blodgett Avenue in Lake Bluff. I'm part of the Lake Bluff 125 Steering Committee. And one of the projects that we would like to do to celebrate the Quasquicentennial of Lake Bluff is to put in some brick pavers. The bricks are being sold essentially as a fundraiser to residents of Lake Bluff. They can engrave them, and then the idea is that we will install them. If you look on your schematic, we'll install them kind of out in front of Village Hall. I guess it would be a little bit to the north of Village Hall, in front of the fountain in the grassy area there. So Terry Lesser is actually here. She is the person who is handling this. It's handling this for the 125 committee, which we appreciate. And we're really in the infancy stages of this. So we've just started fundraising. We've just started getting orders for the bricks. The bricks are the same as the bricks that are up outside the History Museum. So we're using We're using the same company to engrave them. They're called Impressions in Stone, and they're out of Island Lake, Illinois. And they've done quite a few projects. They've done this one here outside the museum. They've also done one at Lake Forest High School. I believe they did one outside of College of Lake County. They're sort of all in this area.
They didn't do the ones at public safety?
Yeah, I don't know about public safety, but I know
They
they,
certainly look similar.
yeah, they've done quite a few. And then they have a person that they work with that installs them. I'm not quite sure if that's who we're gonna use to install them as well. We're still trying to get a little more information from the History Museum because they have all the details.
Okay. Anybody got any questions or thoughts? Or
So you're showing two separate locations on this plan, is there,
I think there's a sidewalk in between there.
yeah,
That's my understanding.
So,
And that-
Matt, I
We
think
have
our,
sold, as
yeah,
looking at the sheet that I have now, I've just recently come into this project, about 125 have been sold already.
has anybody counted up how many you need to sell?
We have not done that yet. Drew Irvin gave us that schematic, which I think was from a prior land use
All the
plan.
work that was done
That's
around the
right.
village 10 years ago or so.
okay,
Right.
is that?
so we're only looking at the highlighted area, Matt, not
So-
the upper
Yes.
part.
So everything else is just highlighted, thank you.
Oh, yeah, just that
Highlighted
area.
part.
I just want, yeah, because it
yes.
seems like, okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think that's mixed in with that image there is also like some landscaping. They were
Right,
gonna do
yeah.
some landscaping around the
Yeah.
fountain.
This
Very
was
good.
the overall master
Yeah.
plan.
Right.
Right, we
Right.
just took the
Thank you.
2007 plan and highlighted.
Perfect,
the
thank you.
Spot,
Yeah,
where they're
great.
gonna put the bricks.
So I think for the purpose of tonight, Drew wanted us to show you what the brick was gonna look like, kind of the size of the brick, who we're gonna use to engrave them, and kind of what the purpose of the project is, and then moving forward, we'll have more details. He's gonna be getting us more details on the schematic, the number of bricks, and then the History Museum has more information on how they'll be installed, because they've already done that out in front of their, right there in front of their building. So they'll be able to give us who they used for the installation, and we can determine if that's who we want to use as well. It's really in its very infancy, like a very young stage right now.
And when are you hoping to, do you have a date, like, are you trying to have some kind of groundbreaking at some ceremony or
We
something?
do not yet. We
Okay.
we have a few dates set up for the Quasqui Centennial, so we know the entire celebration will culminate on September 26th. We're gonna have a village-wide party over at the Park District with fireworks and music and what have you. And I would imagine at some point, I would think right after that, we would have the bricks installed, once we finish all of our fundraising.
I see, okay.
I wish I had more details.
No,
I-
it's great.
I-
Yeah.
Anybody else? Tim?
I think it looks great. It's a good idea.
How much are the bricks?
Well, you have to give them a minimum of $250. 125 is the one of the minimum donations.
Yeah.
And then you can do another 125 to do a brick.
I see,
So to get a brick, you would have to give at least $250.
okay.
When the bricks are installed, do they allow for pervious to let groundwater go into the ground? It seems to be a good opportunity to do that, to get more.
That's something we can certainly bring back, and I can talk to Drew about.
It was certainly one of my questions. I
Yeah.
was going to ask the History Museum
Yeah.
about their installation.
Okay.
But that makes sense, right? We would want to be able to have it be pervious if we can.
Neil?
I wonder how they would be installed. I see brick pavers installed sometimes where there's concrete underneath them and sometimes where it's just a sand bed. And when it's a sand bed, with freezing and thawing, they tend to move, become tripping hazards. And I just wonder, since this is a well-trafficked area, how they'd be installed.
We will have more information as we start contacting the company. This committee's kind of still scoping out the things that we want to do. We haven't really looked at the details. We'll certainly be talking to the History Museum about their installation and finding out what the company, we'll talk to them ourselves about what their installation processes are and we probably then would need to come back to you, is my guess.
I guess another thing to consider is, I like the idea and I like the location of it, but most times when I see brick pavers, they're in an area where you don't get snow shoveling and snow plowing. And that might be another question to ask them is, when the plow
Well,
goes.
this is in what currently now is a grassy
It's a
area
grassy
now.
area.
It's
It's-
outside the sidewalk. You're not
So
gonna
the-
tear
It's
up
a
any.
sidewalk.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't run the shoveler over that.
Yeah,
Be good not to.
Yeah,
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 they'll maintain the
Yeah,
pedestrian path the way it is.
yeah.
And the drawing that you gave us, between where the pavers would go and the fountain, it shows what might be some interesting landscaping there, but it doesn't exist.
That's
That
the
came from
old Jim
Jim, didn't it?
Campbell
Yeah.
plan, the master plan, you know, from
Yeah.
10 years ago, or whatever it was.
But
so again, we're not doing anything
But
with
you're
the
not doing it.
landscaping,
No,
we're just
no,
doing the
that's something
pavers.
that the village
If we
could
can find
do at
someone
some point.
to donate for the
that's
landscaping.
just my wish list to say I wish I,
We'll certainly approach them.
but I like the idea.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I would take a look at, when you actually sit down and talk to the people, is there a way that this might have to be done in phases where you maybe don't have enough brick to fill up the whole pattern?
Yes,
So what do you do then?
yes.
Do you put in blank bricks and replace them as they go along? I know putting bricks down on college campuses now, once you graduate, is a big thing. And, you know, there'll be a mile of brick sidewalks. And the kid gets, they don't have to pay for it. Once they graduate, their name goes down there, they have to go find it. But I know it's really a popular thing. But they start off with blanks, and then as somebody buys a brick, then they replace it
Okay.
with that one.
We'll look into, with that schematic, with the amount that we've sold, how much will we fill, and then figure out at that point what we need
Yeah.
or what to do.
You gotta either do it all or none,
Right.
or change the shape, you know.
Okay?
I would
I
imagine,
think it's a great idea.
we'll fill it in with blank bricks, and then slowly, we'll just continue to get more. I'm hoping, we just started fundraising in the last couple of months, so we've got the next 9 months to continue to get brick orders. And then after that, I don't know, if we still have blank bricks in there, we can probably figure out a way or some other activity that if somebody wants to do bricks, we can add some more in there. That would be my guess.
I know down at the Botanic Garden there's an area where they have bricks like this. And every once in a while, when I go by, I see a new brick with new names on it, so somehow they're doing it.
Well, even across the street, not every brick has got a name on it.
Yeah,
I don't
right,
think.
Right, I think you're right.
Anyway, that's just some suggestions, I think, so we don't need to make any kind of motions or anything
No.
like that.
Correct, right? The code doesn't require a vote to approve, so we just wanted the ABR's input, so it sounds like
Yeah.
everybody likes the
You got
idea.
it.
So that's great,
Okay, and we'll come back as we
Thanks
have
for-
more information.
yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for
Thank
coming.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks
Yeah.
for taking it up. It's a great idea.
So I'll go up and present item number 4. I got a
I suspect
little bit of PowerPoint.
if that was really done, it would be quite nice. Instead
Yeah.
of just being plain blank grass.
Yeah, I know. It seems like this whole area is just kind of like wall. You have to walk around to get, you know,
Yeah, right now it is a
Like-
sidewalk going through the middle,
there's a
but.
sidewalk, but,
Yeah, that was a
in the summer,
budget
people
thing.
will
but it'd
walk
be
there.
nice to, you know, cut this corner.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So you're probably all pretty familiar with where our generator and garbage enclosure is here on the back of the public safety building. Here's an aerial photo facing north, with north up. This is zooming in a little bit closer on it. You know, I'll just flip through these. This is the view of the sides, front and back. So to go back to here, our plan this year was to repaint the existing enclosure, but then we did a load test on the generator and discovered that it overheats when it gets up to about 75% of the load, because as you can see in the aerial here, the walls of the enclosure are very close to the walls of the generator, and they should have about 3 feet of clearance. Now, the problem here is you don't really have 3 feet of room between where the generator is mounted and the driveway and the sidewalk and other obstructions. So our plan, after thinking about it for a while, is to just cut the enclosure off here, build a new north wall where that red line is, and leave the generator unenclosed, and just enclose the garbage. As you can see from the overall site plan, that the generator itself will be pretty well shielded from view because it's going to be between the garbage enclosure and the building. And then to the east, you know, the fence of the tennis courts, which has the green mesh on it, you know, all summer, you know, pretty much chokes off the view. And then there's also, you know, landscaping and all that between the site and the closest house, which is 250 feet east. And then to the west, you have the equipment area for the cell tower has a brick wall around it screening things off, and then the vehicles parked there and everything else gives you a pretty narrow sight line to ever have a chance of seeing in and seeing the generator itself. And so then the enclosure will look similar to today. It'll be cut off just north of the gate right here. And we also want to replace the gate on this side because the existing gates have wheels and roll on the ground, but the ground's not smooth and even and all that, so it doesn't roll very smoothly. So we're going to go to something like this, kind of a traditional plain wood gate. It wouldn't have much metal hardware visible except for the latch, and then we'll just stain the wood white to match the white of the enclosure. And so we would lose the grid from this side with the new gate, and we would also lose the grid from the north side and just make that plain white. It would be behind the generator anyway, and then maintain the existing grid, which matches the building on the south and east sides of the enclosure. And that's it. That's the plan.
Broken panel down there in the lower right,
Yep, we'll replace that. We'll fix all the broken.
reputable looking.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, we'll fix all the broken holes and all
Yeah.
that.
So are you doing that fence on the gate? Right, so are you
Yeah.
duplicating that fence, like that slide you showed us with the gate?
Right,
So that's-
that'll replace the existing gate, which is right here.
So then you're gonna have that kind of fence element on this side, and then the other two exposed sides are gonna maintain the grid?
Right, that's correct, yep.
If you go, I'm not sure whether you're going forward or back.
To that one?
That one,
Yeah,
when I first looked at that, I thought that was a weird fence for a generator, and then I realized that the part of the building up there that you can see the grid. that
Right.
It was done to mirror that,
Right.
right,
and my feeling was mirroring that was not real successful, because it took me about 20 minutes to figure it out.
right.
No, if it
Right.
wasn't, and what would have been my preference would be to do it out of brick, but at the time this was done, they didn't want to spend the money to do it out of brick,
Right, right.
and they were gonna do a chain link fence.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, there's no place to really stand back and view this from a distance where you'd see that element in the building altogether. You're either right up on it or you don't really see it at all.
Well, I think that's the key I came to, is that first it took me a while to figure out where it was.
Yeah,
And if I, as I walked around the building, I couldn't even find it. And I thought, well, if I can't find it and I'm looking for it, that means the majority of the people don't even know it's there.
Right.
And so I had trouble being concerned about what it looks like,
right.
except chain link fence.
Yeah. So the horseshoe pit,
Is that the
the
some
reason why
bad
all those
throws?
holes are in it.
Bad throws?
Right, yeah.
I gotta say, it was not a very successful enclosure.
Have you tried pricing out, just doing that fence on
How'd
the
they-
four sides, or is
We
that not
we
even in
did,
conversation?
we got some very high prices. We, you know, we had a price for a metal louvered enclosure that would all be metal louvers, and that was like $43,000.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We're probably gonna spend less than 5,000 on this
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
And then other suggestions were chain link with slats or
No, no,
a
no,
wood
no, yeah,
fence.
That's not yet.
Yeah.
Have you thought about dedicating bricks for $250 apiece?
And then building a wall?
Yeah, a memorial wall. We'll compete against the, we could undercut them, do it for $50
Right, 240 for our
for the
bricks.
cheap people in town.
That might be something else. That might be a baseball or
Has to be
something.
something else.
Yeah, it really is a non-issue until you,
What,
right,
what kind of material is
look at it
this?
up close. I mean, but it is a shame
Material is
that
Synthetic.
Right,
it's just not great,
Plasticky?
but,
right.
First
Like
impression was
plastic?
it was made out of
No.
glass, the white.
yeah, like a plexiglass or something,
Yeah.
yeah.
What is that white stuff? I don't remember.
It's like a stucco board.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's a board, but it's not
Yeah.
exactly wood. It's like a,
Almost like a hardy or
It's
something?
like a hard.
y-
it
yeah,
might
like
be
a
hard.
cement board, yeah.
On board? Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
With a stucco texture to
yeah,
it.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Very brittle.
They're rolling dumpsters in and out.
Yeah,
so they
concrete
might
doesn't
hit
have
this
much.
with the
Man, does
dumpster
anybody
somewhere.
talk about just taking the whole thing down and starting over again with a fence and painting the fence?
Well, I looked at that and I got I got prices for a couple things there, but it came out a lot more to take the whole thing down. This is actually pretty cheap because some of the materials can be reused in building that wall to the north. and
Right.
All you're really paying for new is the gate, and the price to have it repainted, I thought was surprisingly low, considering you have to do two different colors and kind of
Yeah, I think maybe
That
that's,
detail
maybe
all that.
not such a white. Maybe
The
it's a,
grid white too.
I'm sorry?
Make the grid, make the whole thing.
Yeah, I think if you,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it just feels halfway completed.
Yeah.
It was very Japanese.
Yeah, a little soji screen, yeah, which,
Sorry. Soji generator cover.
yeah.
Trash.
It's that
Trash
Zen, the Zen garden.
What does anybody think about painting the whole thing white? All the,
Yeah.
I mean, the,
Or gray sort of just blend in and not be noticeable.
could do that too.
what color is the grid on the building? It looks kind of like a
Well, the
tan.
grid on the
It is a
building
tan,
started
yeah.
out to be a dark gray.
Yeah.
And I told Mike, I said, you know, when we did that, it's like, okay, how are they ever gonna paint this?
Mm.
Well, it's screwed up and it's on spacers, so if you go look at it, it's that far away from the building.
Yeah.
So you can lift these things off in
Yeah,
panels
great,
and paint either the stucco,
Yeah.
which is real stucco,
yeah,
or paint the grid. or
I see,
both.
yeah.
But I don't think anybody would have ever done that when they get around to paint. It's never been painted, as far as I know, since 1984.
I think we're gonna do it soon, maybe in 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing 2-year budgets now, so we're writing the budget 2 years out. It's gonna be in there somewhere for 1 year.
So maybe you can throw that in as a,
Well, we're already painting this.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna paint this now, actually.
Tell
We have the
somebody
money.
that's how they should do it.
Yeah, take it off, yeah,
Yeah.
right, that is the plan, yeah,
sit there.
Aztecs should do it that way.
Yeah.
right, yep.
I recommend painting it one color, whatever that color is.
Yeah.
I just think it's
Yeah.
unnecessarily complicated.
Yeah, just go all white,
Yeah.
yeah,
Can
okay.
you get the guys to build the backstop a little bit bigger?
Yeah, we'll have to do something, we'll have to make sure they don't break that again.
They will,
Yeah,
you know.
You know
right.
what they might do with the back, once the fence is missing near the generator,
Oh,
they'll hit the generator.
yeah,
There
that's,
you go.
Yeah, we might have to move the first.
They could just switch to bags instead,
Yeah.
Right, that's a good point, yeah, actually.
what?
to the
Switch to
bags
bags
game.
instead of horseshoes,
Bocce ball.
right.
There's
There
a
you
lot
go.
of good options.
They're gonna do what they're gonna do up there.
Beanbag, right?
Yeah,
I'm not
Okay.
good at horseshoes, but I'm not that bad.
Yeah, that's,
They bounce. Yeah, they bounce. You-
They do
yeah, that doesn't look like soft landing sand. That's
No.
hard pan. You can tell it just trickling off to the right and going through there.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't broken more than that.
Yeah.
Okay, you got enough direction?
So
Kinda.
could I get a motion and a vote on this one?
I thought we didn't have to vote
To
on
make
this.
a recommendation? Actually, I forgot to say, the write-up in your packet was wrong. That was the old write-up from the last time we discussed this, so I handed out a new write-up and set it at your place. I forgot to say that in my presentation,
I
though.
don't remember seeing that before.
Yeah, right.
One of these.
So it basically just said what I just told you in the
Yeah.
presentation up there. But we're actually looking for a vote for site plan review approval.
Protect the generator, yeah. I don't know what.
I like the bags idea and just eliminating the horseshoe
Yeah.
court, but we don't have to make that
Well, you're
part
gonna
of
have
the
that
site plan.
discussion with David.
Yeah, right, exactly. Right,
And the 48 volunteers up there.
right, yeah.
Actually, there's more than that now.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So could the motion be something like, I couldn't tell that it was there and didn't know where it was, so I really don't care what you do with it?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. So I move to approve with the following revisions, that the, when it's repainted, that the grid and the panels are painted the same color. And then are we staining or painting that gate, that wood?
You said stain.
Staining.
Stain, the same color, it'll be the
Yeah.
same white to match.
Okay, great.
So we'll
Yeah.
do it all.
And then the gate to match.
Yep.
Yes, the only comment is we're recommending, not
Are we recommending? I recommend, okay,
Yeah,
recommend.
Can I
Right.
put an addenda,
Yep.
an idea anyway? Instead of painting it the harsh white,
Yeah.
what if we painted the color of the stone?
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Just to
tan.
tone it down.
yeah, I'm all for
You
it.
know, I don't care if it
I'd like
matches
that.
everything else on the building.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm with you on that. That's, and that the color should match the, is that limestone or
No, it's.
like a cut
A
stone?
split face
Split
concrete block.
face. Okay,
Yeah.
to match the split face concrete block.
I thought you worded that nicely. You carefully didn't say a color. All of a sudden it came up.
I did,
Yeah, yeah, I didn't say
In the
color.
motion.
okay. Do we need a roll call on this?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Member Callahan?
Aye.
Member Dahlman?
Aye.
Member Dittmer?
Aye.
Member Careway?
Aye.
And Chair Hunter?
All right,
Okay, all aye, thanks. So we have a meeting resolution to set our meeting dates for next year. I think the first Tuesday of the month happens to avoid all the holidays other than January 1st, which, so we're doing it the 7th instead.
fine with me.
Yeah, looks good.
I do nothing, I go nowhere.
Sounds good, Bob.
Okay, so we should do a motion on that.
Okay. So you want to move on that?
I'll make a motion that the schedule be approved.
Second?
I second.
Another roll call?
No, we can
No.
just
All
do.
in favor of the schedule as presented? Say aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Anything else?
The only thing, I just wanted to mention that I think I'm going to target our February meeting to do building code amendments. And for anyone who wasn't here 3 or 4 years ago, that is something that this board makes a recommendation on, approving building code amendments. So we're looking to update to the 2018 edition of the I-codes. We're on the 2015 now. So I just wanted to mention it, so in case anyone has any thoughts about anything we should change in the building code, or if anyone has any knowledge of the 2018 codes and knows anything we should,
I have no thoughts.
Is this,
you have till February to share your thoughts.
is this
with
gonna
me.
be more onerous
Oh,
than,
yeah.
than it is now?
Yeah, I know what's tough is the, like that IECC, like that, you know,
Energy code?
the energy code
Yeah.
is a killer.
Right. And there's two things we don't really have a lot of choice on, which is plumbing and energy code, because
Yeah.
those are both state mandates.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right, the energy code is probably the thing we get
Yeah,
the most
soon we're just
comments
gonna be
on.
like burning candles. They're, you know, the amount of watts they're allowing to put in for lighting is so minimal.
Oh, yeah.
It's really hard to match, yeah.
Gotta go LED.
Even with that, I mean, you're getting such minor watts per square foot. It's painful,
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, it's tough.
It's like every
On
time,
commercial or even?
Well, commercial,
residential?
yeah, commercial,
Right, okay.
yeah.
every time you go in a hotel room, I turn on all the lights and I still can't see enough.
Yeah, I know,
able
it
to
is, yeah, it's crazy.
So in the future, a lot of people are gonna be buying floor lamps.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't have any. I'll need some.
yeah.
So I know that the board passed, the zoning board passed, and then the board passed, as far as I know, the sign and from the stuff that we spent all that time on.
They did the first reading of the ordinance, yeah, and ordinances come back for
Did the
second
zoning board
readings.
change it?
No, they
Okay, they
didn't.
just, because it sounded
Yeah.
like they just,
Right, yeah,
okay,
right, they
done.
just passed it through without any changes,
good.
yeah.
Has any homes been built, have any homes been built using PEX tubing? Have you seen that come through?
No, because we put a local amendment in the last time we did code amendments to not allow it.
Okay,
So,
Yeah.
no, they
do
so
what?
you,
they have
PEX,
to not allow PEX, the plastic tubing
yeah,
for
like,
plumbing.
you can do that in Deerfield, I mean, it's, Wisconsin,
Flexible
it's,
stuff?
yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
right.
oh, yeah.
It's like a Wisconsin
It's
cabin?
pure Wisconsin, for sure. But I did, like, I'm doing a project in Deerfield, and my owner's like, let's do PEX. I'm like, I don't think we can. And the guy's like, yeah, it seems so, anyways, so I didn't even know that was an Illinois option.
Yeah, that's, when when the state changed the plumbing code in 2014,
Yeah.
they
Huh.
listed it as allowed, but
Yeah.
so only places that, have a local
That have a
amendment
local, or,
banning it
yeah,
or prohibiting it,
I've never,
yeah.
I was just curious.
Yeah, it's
Thanks.
interesting.
Yeah.
So, should we close?
Well, unless you want to talk about code amendments anymore, I don't.
I
if you're
don't
done
know
talking about
what
it,
to
we
talk
can
about.
close. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just curious about whatever happened to the sanctuary sign.
oh,
Yeah, I haven't heard anything, so as far as I know, they're still gonna pursue it. I'm not sure when,
Yeah.
or what their schedule is. Yeah. Did you have something you wanted to say about that?
no, no.
Okay,
So, now we're done?
yep, I think we are.
I move we adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
All right. Okay, are we off?
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
It's quick.
Okay.